Hello and welcome to this mini podcast series on behalf of Australia Mining Monthly magazine. Today we are going to be exploring the realities of working on a fly-in, fly-out roster. This is when an employee flies to a remote mine site and stays there working for several days before returning for a scheduled break, after which they return to the mine site and so on. So we'll be looking at this from the perspective of a woman working in the very male-dominated mining sector, considering what employers can do to support women in the industry, particularly while working for long periods away from home. My name is Heidi Vella, and I am joined today by Marina Paiva de Oliveira, a project logistics coordinator at mining equipment and infrastructure provider Epiroc. Marina is going to share her experience of working in the mining industry in Australia on a fly-in, fly-out schedule. So it's nice to meet you, Marina. How are you today?
Nice to meet you, Heidi. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to share a little bit about my story.
Thank you. Nice to have you. So, Marina, to kick things off, please tell us about your role at Epiroc, what you do, how long have you been working in the mining industry, and how you got into the sector?
Yes, so I'm the logistics coordinator for the AHS project, which stands for Autonomous Haulage System. So basically, we are converting haul trucks from manned to autonomous. In my role, I need to make sure the team at the mine has all the material they need to execute their tasks. So this includes organizing international and domestic freight, manage parts inventory, maintain ideal stock levels of parts to avoid shortage. So overall, I look after the logistics and supply chain, so making sure our process is both efficient and cost effective. I've been working in the mining industry for 18 months now. So how I got to in the first place, mining is a big part of Australia's economy. So for sure, this by itself is very attractive. My background also aligns well with the demands of the mining sector. So I'm a mechanical engineer with experience in project design, supply chain management, and logistics. And the mining industry offers many opportunities in these areas, and I can see a lot of potential for my career growth within it.
Great. And so, as we already mentioned, this role requires you to work on a fly-in, fly-out roster. So, I'm interested to know. So, how long have you worked on that type of roster? Like, what does your working week look like? Yeah, and what do you like about it? What are the pros and cons?
Yeah, I've been doing five for 4 months now. So I work in a 4-3 roster, which means 4 days on site and 3 days at home. So when I'm on site, I work on a 12-hour shift. So it starts at 5 a.m. and finish at 5 p.m. I think the challenge was to find a good routine when I'm on site. Because I try to make an effort not to fall into a routine of just working and eating and sleeping. So instead of that, I try to keep myself occupied when I'm not at work. So whether it's going to the gym or going for a walk. So I think finding time for myself, it's being a good way to maintain a sense of balance and well-being.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So what are the options for you to do outside of your work? So when your work finishes, you could go to the gym. Are there any other sort of activities or things that you can do on site?
Yes, there's a lot of activities. They play volleyball. There's a pool that we can go for swimming. There's a tavern if we can catch up with friends. So yeah, there's a lot of entertainment outside the work.
Okay. And women are a minority in the mining industry. So currently they make up around 18% of the workforce. And there have been several reports in the last few years detailing some of the Pacific and sometimes often very serious, it must be said, challenges faced by women working FIFO. So I just wondered, what has been your experience in this regard? And, how does your employer support you around those issues?
Unfortunately, this extends far beyond the mining sector. These kind of incidents are far too common. And I brought this topic up with a group of friends. So out of 13 women, 8 have experienced such incidents. and one hasn't personally but knows someone who has. But yeah, I found that's a big number. So personally, myself, I have experienced before situations like this in the past, not in the mining industry, but yeah. But at the time, if I wanted to report it, I would have to go to my manager, which is a man. So that alone is very intimidating. And but I believe that things are changing now. We still have a long way to go, and but now we are more encouraged to speak up for sure. So I think the companies are taking these issues more seriously. For example, Epiroc does provide support for employees. So we have zero tolerance policies, confidential report systems, counseling services. So there's a lot of things. I think this is getting better.
And if there is anything that you think the industry or, your employers, or I guess even just at the mine site, that can be done in order to sort of foster a culture where that is welcoming to women. For example, I was reading before that some of the women had said just having more women
Yes.
working, on site and things like that would be, would really help and just sort of, create a more welcoming culture to women.
Yeah, I think for sure that helps. And Epiroc has a strong commitment to empower women. And I think when we have women also in a leadership roles, this is very good. Like it's kind of role model for us. It's very inspiring. So yeah.
And maybe, if you do have a problem, speaking to a woman might actually be easier, as you said.
Yes, yes, we will be more comfortable to reporting this if we have a woman in a leadership role for sure.
So there are other challenges that have been documented about working FIFO that affect both men and women. So things such as loneliness, a greater risk of mental ill health. Are these challenges that you recognise, and how do you navigate them yourself? And again, how does Epiroc support you around those issues?
Having a strong support system at home is a huge relief for me. So knowing that my family can manage without me for a few days, of course, helps alleviate any anxiety and allows me to stay focused on my work. And I believe Epiroc also plays a big role on this. I have the flexibility that I need, so I know that if something happened, something urgent come up, I'll be able to go back home earlier. So I have those kind of flexibility, and also we have assistance program, counseling service. Yeah, I think it's very comforting to know that I'm not alone, and I'll be supported whenever I need.
So you can reach out and that support, the counselling, and that's all there for you.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
yes.
good. It's been interesting to hear about your experiences. And, as we said, it would be good if more women worked in the mining industry. Perhaps a nice way to conclude would be, to discuss, or to give your advice to other women who are perhaps thinking about entering the mining industry, but have perhaps, read some of these reports and, have heard some of the negative things around it. What would be your advice to them thinking about entering the industry, and particularly in working FIFO?
I believe there's no recipe for that and no point of comparing yourself to others. So what works for me, for example, not necessarily works for others. But I think the key is to find a balance between yourself, your family, and your career. Of course, you need a strong support network, especially at home. And yeah, and when on site, try to maintain a healthy work-life balance, make time for yourself, and so that those activities can help recharging you mentally and emotionally while you are away.
So thank you. I think we'll leave it there. So thanks again for sharing your insights. We're going to come back in another episode to discuss working FIFO, but while also juggling parenthood. So we hope you can join us for that next episode. Thanks again, Marina.
Thank you.